Alright, so this video is supposed to also go along with your worksheet that's in your student book, preparing for your color scheme project. And we're going to go over some points to consider as you get ready to do your artwork, because next week's going to be your artwork. So basic choices to make it interesting, and we all want some interesting artwork. The first thing you can do is to draw something close up. This allows you to focus on one part of the image, which causes the viewer to take time to consider exactly what they're looking at, and it allows the artist, which is you, to focus on line, direction, spaces, similar to stuff we did in Cubism, instead of just trying to draw this whole realistic object. Now, I'm not expecting you to draw bubbles like this, because these are actually a little bit difficult unless you know the technique to use as you create these. But the idea here is to look at these objects and realize, you know, they look different when they're really close than when they're really far away. It gives the picture framed area a different feel, a different look. Here's some pencils. Instead of drawing just the whole pencil, you draw it close up in a little circle here or something, and it gives it a whole different look. This, instead of just drawing a regular citrus fruit slice, they used it and set it up to where it's pretty equalized on this page. You know, as a wheel, reminds me of some stained glass because you can see all the veins in here. So they didn't just have an orange normally, you just see the rind and then the orange part inside. Well, that's pretty simple. Well, this you have lots of symmetry going on, and it's just really pretty. So there's a lot to do with this. An eye, same thing. So just think of any object. This has endless possibilities here of things that you can draw close up. Go look at stuff in your kitchen, look at stuff outside, look at things hanging on your wall, look at toys your younger brother or sister has. There's so many different things. Electronics. So also a unique perspective, which is kind of similar to doing something close up. Here is a zipper, which I think is really cool. And they also did this close up, but you have a unique perspective because not only is it close up, but you have this close view of this zipper and you're right there with it. It's not like you're far away looking at the zipper the other way. And here's flowers. Instead of looking at it from the sky, you have a bird's eye view. You're going to the bottom. You're going to have a bug's eye view, so you see the bottom of the flowers. Or something that you're on level ground with that you're usually not. Okay, we're usually not laying on the ground looking at things across it. So, or you can have a bird's eye view. Here's a person, and you see them from the top. So usually we see people face to face. So think of a lot of scenarios that you look at normally, okay? You see something from a normal perspective and consider, well, how would this look from another angle that we're not usually looking at it from? And see what you can come up with. So this is a really fun way to make your artwork creative. Also, you can do something in motion. This is pretty self-explanatory. There's a girl jumping, a horse jumping. You have a dog starting off in his run. We have a rabbit here, and you can put him not only in just a standard moving position, but you can do one where something's moving away from you, so you see the back of it. That's also cool. You could do a dog like this turned around where it's running away or it's jumping up over something. And you know, you may need to get some references for that. We talked about references before, reference images. So you might need to use some reference images for this if you're not used to drawing things in motion. Of course, really, it's good to use reference images no matter what you're doing, but it helps you become a better artist. Also, we have unusual objects or qualities. So this is cool because this is like surrealism. So you can go online and look at surrealist artists or surrealism artwork, and you're going to find some pretty weird stuff. Some of it might be a little too weird. You're like, whoa, what is this? You know, it looks like somebody's face is melting or whatever. But there's very strange images on here. And some of them contradict one another to make a point. Here is a tree that's actually an axe head. So, and you have a little butterfly on it that seems to be what's in, you know, control of this motion here of this tree falling over. You have this. It's the badminton birdie thing. It's a birdie, but there's an egg and an eggshell and has real feathers on it. A lot of the birdies that we have nowadays don't. Here's a shoe, but it looks like an animal. And here's some animals that have human qualities. And we all know a lot of the animals playing poker, those pictures that they have. I think this is similar because this guy he's got the little poker chip hat, the guy that runs it. And then here's another one. This is elephant. He has a horn for a head. and because they sound very trumpety. So they have one of those, and here's a deer, which is a very graceful animal, and they have a harp. And if you notice, all these plants are little horns, the flowers at the top, and you have musical notes in the sky. So you can do something like this too. And we have a banana, but actually it's not a banana, but or is it a banana? And they put the corn for the top. So you can combine two different objects also to make your artwork very interesting and make somebody take a second look at it. So now let's move to the second portion, choosing your color scheme to fit. Hopefully y'all have talked about color schemes a little bit. If not, don't worry. This is not supposed to be a real advanced color scheme understanding that you're supposed to have. You're just starting out. Color schemes, you're going to work with those till you graduate. So don't worry about trying to understand everything so much. So this is just going to be some basic discussion. We're not going to get into all the different color schemes because that's just going to be introduced to you basically in the class at a very basic level. So and I'm saying basic a lot, but that's what this class is right now, a lot of your basics. So here we have, you have cool colors over here, warm colors over here. And I personally allow the greens to go either way because sometimes it fits well with the warm, sometimes it fits with the cool. So here we have a very warm feeling for this piece because it's all yellows and oranges. This one has a very cool, somber, feeling to it, very peaceful, maybe a little bit sad. This one, if you notice, sorry, this one is because they use all the cool side over here. This one, if you notice, they have cool colors as the purple, but then they kind of jumped over into some of the warmer stuff. They have this pinkish reddish color for the trees. And then this one is over here in the yellow orangey section. It's kind of a dirty yellow color, but it's still over here in the warm side. So they threw some warmth here in the middle, and you can definitely tell because of the contrast that color produces. So depending on how you want your piece to feel, if you want something to be sad, you don't really want to make it like this because it's just not going to give you a sad feeling. And again, if you want something to be super happy, you're probably not going to put a bunch of cool kind of depressing colors in it. So here's another one. This one looks sad. Not only is it a girl with her eyes closed, but all the colors here are in the cool section. So it does have that sad feel, that sad, cold kind of feeling to it. Here's another one. They use some warmer colors, and they have a little bit of blue in there, but it's very light, almost whitish. So it doesn't make it too cool, but this side does give you a little cooler feeling than this side because it's dark. And usually dark things are not hot because fire is bright, right? So if you put a lot of darkness to something, it's not going to make it feel warm at all. It's going to make it feel cold. So, and this one, of course, seems pretty exciting. A little hard to look at. And they have a bit of a color scheme going with this too, that you can see over here. But they did throw in some green in there, red, yellow, and that purple color. But they decided to put that bright green in there too. So let's talk about this really quick. I'm going to try to make it simple. Space and details. Your artwork is either going to have a lot of large space or it's going to have a lot of small spaces with details, So the space that you have, let me say that, even the large spaces can have details and the small spaces can have details. So it's either going to be something like this. Like we have small spaces here, but there's no details. We have a small space here, but there's no details, right? So you can either have artwork that is like this, where there's no details at all. It's just solid color, which is fine too. This is abstract, more kind of like cubism. Or you can have something like this. This is a little bit more detail to it because you have all these different sections in here and it makes an actual picture. This is a guy. Or you can move to something like this, which has different sections of color. But if you notice, they did some monochromatic art in this. So they took a green, his beard and all of this. They decided the whole thing's going to be green. They didn't do a lot of brush strokes to show the different hair like they did this horse, you notice? Okay, they have different strokes here to show the direction of the hair. They didn't really do that with this much. They did a little bit with the lighter green, but it's not near the same as this horse. This one has more detail in that area than this one does. and they used a lighter color to give a little bit more detail to his shirt. And so you see there's a progression you can take in as far as the space that you have in your artwork. And you have to decide what are you going to do with that space. They use the monochromatic area here also, just like his beard. Provide some shading down here. They used it to really shade the horse up a lot. And here they did a lot of detail with mostly monochromatic colors. Now it looks like they have a little bit of yellow thrown in here with their greenish color. Or they might have made a very unique color with some blue and green and yellow. And then when you lighten it up, you can see that yellow tint that's in there more so than when it's blue. So anyway, this one they used lots of different values when they created this in this space. Each space has a tremendous amount of different values in it. None of them, except for maybe like the guitar handle, the neck of the guitar and the neck of the cello or whatever this is. These are about the only ones that are solid, just a solid color. Like this. All these spaces are solid colors. So consider that. Now the second thing you want to have to that you need to consider when you're doing your spaces and you decide if it's going to be a solid color or if it's going to be detail. We have the same ones here. For example, here's a solid color one. Instead of doing his entire body blue, what did they do? They decided to separate the spaces so the relationship can be seen that there's more than one space here. And they did that by adding some red to separate it a little bit. And then they have to plan this out. They have a space here, they have a space here, and they have this outline. And they don't want any of them to be the same color right up against another one. Even this, they even define the spaces on his belt by putting red through here. They didn't want to put blue because his body's blue, so it's going to look like you're kind of seeing through it. So they made them red. And here again, his hands, they didn't want to make that blue because they want to show he has gloves. So you have to pick a different color. If this part of his body is blue, you can't do the blue on his hands. So they decided to do red and the yellow. But then again, you have to think of what the background color is, because if you have yellow here and red here, you don't want to put yellow and red right here. You have to put the blue. But then again, his body's blue. So if the blue of the body and the blue of the black background run together, it's going to mix and you'll be confused. So they decide, okay, we got to put a yellow line through here to separate them. So my point is, here you have to plan it out. Okay, you have to plan out where your colors are going. And they're just wanting to use 3 colors. So if you use just a few colors like that, you really have to be careful and plan out your picture. If you're doing something like this, then you don't have to plan it out quite as much, because you just got to make sure you add black to it and make darker areas against lighter areas so there's that contrast. If this part was just as dark as this object in the back, they would blend in together. And here again, they put a very, very light back on the dog, and here's darker objects behind it. So they make a lot of contrast in there so things stand out. So just consider these options here, your space, all those things, how you're going to draw it first. So your first thing you need to figure out is your choices to make the drawing interesting. And I gave you 4 examples for that. And then after you've figured out what you're going to draw, then you need to figure out how you're going to put the color onto it. Like, you're going to do it simple like this, and you're just going to do individual shapes. And you got to figure out what is your color scheme. Are you going to do monochromatic type artwork, if that's allowed? Or if you're going to do artwork like this, that's space oriented, where you're doing solid colors everywhere? Or are you going to do something that you're going to use a color scheme, not just monochromatic, but then you're also going to do some shading with it? So all these things you have to decide. So hopefully this video helped bring out a few things that you need to think about. Refer back to your worksheet if you need to, and have a good time making this artwork and come up with something really cool and creative to show your class. All right, until next time, bye.